Oh, hello. Didn't notice you there. Hope thus far this evening your time has been fun-filled, educational, enlightening, rich, and deep. They say that knowledge is the one thing that they can't take away from you. My name is Chris Danforth, and myself, my partners Jason and Kevin will be talking a little bit tonight about the Major League Baseball Association, MLB for short. Formed in 1869. It's comprised of 30 different clubs, 29 in the United States, one in Canada, that being the Toronto Blue Jays, and is the second highest revenue producing sport in America. We're going to be talking a little bit tonight about some things they've done right and some things they've done wrong and how they can do those things better. I'm going to give a little background on it and provide a little situational analysis. So let's begin. As I said, it was formed in 1869. I this past year put up a record $6.075 billion in revenue, which is a lot. It set attendance records 2 years ago, or 3 years ago rather, following the slew of opening of a bunch of new ballparks, the bigger ballparks, so it was able to fit more people in, thus raising the actual cap of attendance possibilities, and they maximized that 3 years ago. But in the past 2 years, the Major League Baseball has been putting up attendance losses, which you might say, how does that make sense? They put up record revenue. Oh, they this past year, they did that by raising ticket prices, basically. Were able to cover the gap left by the people who were staying away from the ballparks. This is a problem, obviously, and it's not just that overall the attendance was down. It was that of the 30 teams, 22 experienced actual loss. 22 of the 30 teams. There's a following 3 teams that stayed about the same. They experienced growth that was less than 1% over the previous, I guess, the 2 years previous to the past 2 years. So that means 25 of the 30 teams experienced either no growth, essentially no change, or put up losses, leaving 5 teams that saw any real growth over the past 2 years. It's also worth noting that of the top 10 teams in terms of attendance numbers, only one team was what we call a small market team. That's the Minneapolis Twins, and or the Minnesota Twins, rather. And of the 10 clubs, the top 10 attendance numbers, 5 had won the World Series in the past decade, which generates more money, more interest, and these teams always see a growth in attendance. So one question that MLB has asked themselves over the past couple of years is, if people are not going to the ballparks, how do we go to them? There have been 2 mediums they've traditionally gone to. One being really old school, and that's radio, and they still do some of that with ESPN radio and whatnot, and local broadcasts. The second being television, which is something that they've done really well for forever and ever. But there's a third medium they have really dropped the ball on in the past 5, 10, 15 years. And that's the internet. With the amount of I guess users of the internet, they have really not only not done anything to reach people, but they've kind of regressed. They kind of made it harder to get to. They regularly, I guess, police YouTube and other video sharing websites in order to pull MLB related materials down, things that are not officially sanctioned or officially put up there by Major League Baseball, and will threaten YouTube or whoever with lawsuits if they don't pull down this copyright material, which is technically it's within the law, but what you have are people who are fans, users, your target audience, your consumers who care enough to create promotional materials, essentially advertisements, for you for free, to identify themselves and identify people who are interested in your product or what different parts of your product, whether it's web gems or home runs or whatever. And you're taking all that away. You're taking away all this free promotion, free advertising, and really kind of treating your people who care about your product, people who actually care enough to go through all this work and trouble to do this. You're kind of treating them like dirt, like you don't care that they care, and that's a really big problem that Major League Baseball has. And this might stem from the fact that they kind of consider themselves America's pastime, and sort of like we talked about with the Coke thing, like we're baseball, we'll always be fine, we've always been fine, we put up record revenues last year. But the truth is, when it comes down to it, in terms of I guess the internet and YouTube, they're less relevant than the National Football League's Players Association. And the numbers back that up. The Players Association has more subscribers, more than twice as many people have viewed videos that put up on the Players Association website than have put up on the Major League Baseball's official YouTube channel, which is absolutely ridiculous. Because again, baseball has almost 150 years worth of experience, of tradition and legacy, and there have been so many important moments that have come through that, and the truth of it is you can't see hardly any of them because of MLB's backwards ways of thinking. They do host videos on their own website, but it's mostly current highlights. You can't go back and look at old cool moments. I searched Mark McGwire's home run just trying to see. This was one of the guys that saved baseball in the late 90s after the 1994 strike, where baseball actually had a work stoppage, and you can't see him hitting home runs, which I think is ridiculously short-sighted and backwards. And lastly, by doing all this, they're forcing people to come look to them instead of putting their product out in people's faces. In terms of competition, well, it is second in terms of revenue, and it is last compared to online presence. But we're going to define the competition, not so much as baseball versus baseball, because MLB is the governing authority on professional baseball in the United States. There's no one else. There's no little offshoots or rebel factions. There's just MLB. So we're going to look at in terms of other sports entertainments, which there's 4 big ones. NFL produces the most revenue. Next year is estimated to earn just over $9.1 billion. MLB is second. They're estimated to earn just over $7 billion next year. NBA comes in third, a little over $4 billion, and NHL is last. Despite suffering a work stoppage early in the past decade, they still generated over $3 billion worth of revenue this past year, which is kind of incredible. They are, and one thing that a lot of these entities are doing is looking to expand overseas. MLB has gone west to Japan to try and capitalize on the success of some Japanese-born MLB players. The NFL plays a game or two in London each year. The NBA, during this lockout, players have gone to play in Turkey, gone to play in the Philippines, China. They've been going. NBA teams regularly go on Chinese tours and European tours, and the NHL is really unique in that it's always been sort of a Russian, Canadian, American thing, and so it also has its ties in other places. So that's what we're going to define the competition as. And so opportunities and problems. Well, they've done a good job combating the attendance shortage. I guess the losses. They've done a better job than the NFL did, where they not only both raised prices of tickets, but the NFL also raised prices of concessions and instituted a policy where there would be a television blackout in the local markets of the team if the stadium didn't sell out 72 hours before a game. And this really this hasn't helped. And there have been cities where fans weren't able to see their local teams for 10 weeks out of the year. If you're a fan of the Oakland Raiders and you live down in Los Angeles, you're not going to be able to see the Raiders play because most likely they'll lose, but also because people aren't going to the ballpark. And so in that case, you're penalized. Like they're punishing people for not wanting to drive, hours and deal with traffic and parking and the tickets and the concession prices. They're taking their product away from their consumers, which is, again, I don't see how that could ever be a good thing. There are a couple of really good opportunities for MLB. One is to position itself as a family-friendly sporting event. This is something that the NBA has done a lot of, and they're in a really good position due to the size of the ballparks and the fact that it's a slow game. You can do more than just sit there and watch it. You can go to a ballpark with your kids, and most of the times they'll have little grills out beyond the outfield wall. You can grill, throw the frisbee or baseball around with your kid, holler at the outfielders, try and talk to third base coach or whatever, and have a really good time with your kids. And honestly, and if they get tired, because a lot of games kind of start late and they take 3-4 hours to finish up, you can usually take your kids home and make it back in time to see anything that either listen to the radio or see anything on TV that might actually happen. Another opportunity that they really need to aggressively pursue is that of building a relationship within the Hispanic markets that are the Hispanic communities that are in the markets that many of the teams operate in. California markets, Texas, Florida being some big ones and that come to mind. And there are many stars, like legitimate stars, who are of either Latin American or Hispanic origin, that would give a natural relationship that would allow that to occur. And this is something that would take time and would have to be intentional. But it is something that is worth not just pursuing but building. Much in the same way that the WNBA, although it's lost money every single year it's been around, they've done a really good job of building relationships with both families and the gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender community, which is what their target market has become, because those are the people they've built relationships with, and that's who goes to see the games, buys the product. So those are that's the situational analysis, and I'm going to pass the torch off. Goodbye from San Francisco.